What? You're attending your niece Doris's wedding? Seeing me already dressed up, my husband Ian was furious. Even if she's your niece, she's practically a stranger now. We haven't seen her in years. Why on earth would you go to her wedding? She's not a stranger. Doris grew up like siblings with Jake. You know that. Doris, our niece, adored our son Jake as if he were her real brother and often played with him. Even though we saw less of Doris after she started her career, I never once thought of her as a stranger. No way. Today is my sis Erin's birthday. I promised to take her to a fancy restaurant. There's no way I can cancel it now. Ian has a sister, Erin, who is 10 years younger than him. He used to take care of her a lot because their parents were both working. Perhaps because of this, Ian adores Erin to an abnormal extent even now as adults. The wedding will be over by evening, so I might stop by if there's time. No, you need to come shopping with me during the day. As a woman, I need your advice on what to get Erin that she would like. You should choose it yourself. Erin would be happy with anything you give her, wouldn't she? Anyway, I can't. Then Ian said, "Huh, unbelievable. Ignoring Erin's birthday, huh? Family living together should be the first priority." And with that, he splashed his canned beer over my head. This is what you get. A punishment for neglecting your important family. Wiping my face with a towel, I said with a broad smile, "We're no longer family." Huh? Thinking he misheard, Ian asked, "What did you just say?" Ignoring Ian, I said what I said, and left the house in my wet clothes. My name is Frances, I'm 48 years old and work part-time. I've been interested in tennis since my student days, continued playing in a local tennis club after starting my career, where I met Ian and we started dating and eventually got married. Soon after, our eldest son Jake was born, and our home was filled with endless happy days full of smiles. After work, Ian would turn down all invitations from colleagues, saying, "Seeing Jake's face makes all the fatigue fly away. It's a waste of time to go drinking." He always smiled brightly and treated us kindly. I always respected Ian for that. Yet, there was one thing that always concerned me. It was Ian's adoration for Erin that worried me. Erin, being 10 years younger than Ian, was excessively doted on by him. Ian's parents were a dual-income couple, and Ian had taken care of Erin from a young age in their stead, making their relationship more like that of parent and child than siblings. And in a manner that was far too indulgent towards the children, Ian would buy anything Erin wanted without hesitation, embodying the image of an overly doting father. Even after Erin turned 18, this behavior continued. "Ian, I want a TV. Not one for the living room, but a big screen TV for my room. Please, buy it for me. I want a designer bag. Everyone says the one you bought me last month is out of fashion, and I really need a new one. I was watching this TV show the other day, and now I suddenly want to go to Italy. So, I need money for the trip and some spending money too." Without working and just making such demands, Ian, far from admonishing Erin, would say, "Sure thing. I'd buy anything for you." He sometimes poured much of his income into Erin's wasteful spending. But that wasn't all. Perhaps feeling like I had stolen her beloved brother, Erin persistently directed sarcasm and harassment at me. At family gatherings at the in-laws' house, while the parents-in-law welcomed me warmly, Erin maintained a sullen expression the whole time. Erin, who normally didn't help with household chores, would stand in the kitchen only when I was there and, behind Gloria the MIL's back, sneak salt into my coffee. When the unexpected taste made me grimace. "Mom, Frances is just like a child. She can't even drink coffee because it's too bitter." She would point and laugh like a grade schooler. She also played pranks like turning off the heat on cold winter days to make me get cold, and often took my skincare products to use for herself. At first, since it was Ian's family, I endured it, but when Aaron tried to take the money the parents-in-law had given to Jake, I couldn't help but get angry. "Aaron, please stop. I don't mind what you do to me, but isn't it wrong to go after Jake's things?" I couldn't help but complain. But Aaron, smiling slyly without a hint of remorse, disappeared for a moment only to return later with Ian. "I heard from Aaron. You suspected her of being a thief. What were you thinking? There's no way Aaron would do something so bad." "Wait a minute. It's not just suspicion. I saw Aaron trying to steal Jake's money with my own eyes." "That's not true, Ian. She's lying. I actually wanted to give Jake some money, but I was too shy to give it to him directly, so I tried to sneak it into his stuff." "I see. That's what it was. That's what I thought. Aaron is really kind." Ian, completely trusting Aaron's excuse, gently stroked her head and comforted her. "Don't cry anymore." Then, glaring at me, dumbfounded and sighing, "You doubt Aaron for an innocent mistake and don't even apologize? I'm utterly disgusted." And just like that, he decided I was entirely at fault. "Why should I apologize? I saw it with my own eyes that Aaron doesn't lie to me." "That means you're the one that's lying, right?" Realizing it was futile to say anything more, I sighed and said, "Fine," feeling unjustified and had no choice but to remain silent. When I got home, I was always so mentally drained that I couldn't bring myself to move. Still, I only had to endure Aaron's presence once or twice a year, so I tried to bear it. One day, when I tried to withdraw cash from the account to buy school supplies for Jake, who had just started elementary school, I was shocked to find the balance much lower than expected. When I got home and asked Ian about it, his response was astonishing. "Oh, that was me. Aaron wants to become a children's book author. She needs all sorts of supplies for that, and it's going to cost, right?" Ian's casual manner, as if he was making small talk, infuriated me beyond words. "That money was saved for Jake's future. Why would you use it for Aaron? And for wanting to be a children's book author, of all things?" "What do you mean, of all things?" "Aaron told me, if I become famous, I can support my parents with the royalties. Aaron is finally willing to work. Are you going to stand in her way? Just because she started writing children's books yesterday doesn't guarantee she'll suddenly become famous. What are you dreaming? You, as her brother, should teach her reality." "What's with that tone? It's as if you're saying Aaron has no talent. She's a real talent, you know. She won 3rd place in a school art contest when she was in the 1st grade. I'm convinced she'll succeed." Ian defended Aaron with full confidence, as if that achievement was a solid basis for her future success. Unbelievable. Is that your reason for dipping into your son's education fund? Who's more important to you, your son or Aaron? Aaron and Jake are both irreplaceable treasures to me. Why are you trying to compare them? You're the one who's out of line here. Think more reasonably. You are going to need more money from now on. Aaron, who's been out of college for years and still refuses to work, is the one who's unreasonable." In my passion, I blurted out feelings I had been suppressing deep inside. Then Ian went to his study, came back with a piece of paper, and said, "It seems our values don't align at all. Enough is enough, we're getting a divorce." He thrust a divorce application at me, already signed by Ian. Why would it come to this? It's not a spur-of-the-moment decision. I've been thinking about it for a while. You've always been distant towards Aaron. I can't live with someone like that. The moment the word divorce crossed my mind, I thought of Jake. If I hadn't had Jake, I would have chosen to leave Ian without hesitation. But the reality was that Jake had just started elementary school. Whether it's living expenses or tuition, Jake's costs are only going to increase. With that in mind, I couldn't easily agree to a divorce. I'm sorry. I was wrong. Deep down, I was seething with anger towards Ian, but I knew I had to put aside my true feelings and try to improve his mood. I convinced myself it wasn't because I loved Ian, but purely for Jake's future. If you understand, then never go against me again. And that goes for Aaron too. Ian took a deep breath to calm his heightened emotions, crumpled up the divorce papers, and tossed them in the trash before saying, I need a change of scenery. I'm going for a walk. And with that, he hurried outside. 12 years passed, and it was time for Jake to leave home for college. Just make sure not to waste money. And don't fall for any get-rich-quick schemes. And if you ever run into trouble, call me. And, you worry too much, Mom. Jake said with an amused smile. It's time to go. Ian, who had been starting the car, called out. Got everything you need? I said I could take the bus. As Jake climbed into the passenger seat, Ian's mobile phone rang. Upon answering, Ian exclaimed, Aaron! It's been a while! He was initially in high spirits, but his expression soon fell and his tone dropped as he continued. Yeah, and then... It was clear from Ian's manner of speaking and his expression that the news was not good. After hanging up, Ian let out a sigh with a gloomy face. Ack. What's up with Aaron? Dad's collapsed. Seems he was just taken away by an ambulance. Is he okay? I don't know. I'm going to the hospital to check. Sorry, Jake, but... I get it. I'll take the bus. With that, Jake said, take care, and started walking towards the bus stop. Ian set the hospital route on the car navigation system and said, I'll let you know once I find out more. Then, he drove off. Later, Raphael Charles barely survived, but was left with severe aftereffects that rendered half his body non-functional, requiring long-term care. We were called to the in-laws' house to discuss what to do moving forward. I really wish I could take care of him myself, but I'm getting on in years and my legs aren't what they used to be. Ian, Francis, I hate to ask, but could you possibly help out? But Aaron is here as well. As I turned my gaze towards Aaron. Aaron has no income. Taking care of our parents would be too much for her. Ian shouted, agitated. Aaron had once aspired to be a children's book author, but gave up just one day due to her disastrously poor drawing skills. Since then, she had continued living at home, even past the age of 40. That's right. Ian, Francis, Jake is away at college now, living in a dorm. Why don't you guys move over here? Aaron suddenly suggested. Wait a minute. We can't just decide something like that on a whim. Before I could finish, Ian cut me off. That might be our only option. He nodded 2 or 3 times, affirming. Let's do that. Francis, I understand you might not be keen, but I'm asking you too. With even Gloria appealing to us, I found it impossible to refuse. The next day, we started moving our necessary belongings to the in-laws' house and began living with Ian's parents in earnest. Gloria seemed to struggle even with simple movements like sitting and standing due to knee pain. Please rest, Gloria. I'll take care of the meals. In addition to caring for Charles, I was now responsible for preparing all meals for the family, from morning till night. Whenever I was cooking, Aaron would come close and complain. Don't you think your cooking is a bit bland? It's like I haven't eaten at all. She complained about the seasoning. I've been keeping the seasoning light considering Charles's condition. Besides, I'm following professional advice to ensure a balanced diet. Then from now on, make separate meals for me and Dad. I can't be satisfied unless the flavor is stronger. If my cooking doesn't suit your taste, perhaps you could cook for yourself? Well, it's unfortunate you have no income. You should have the time, right? I said, with a hint of sarcasm. How dare you? Remember, you're Ian's wife. You'll regret this later. And Erin, her face flushed with anger, stormed off. That night, after finishing all the household chores and finally preparing for a late shower. Why did you say that to Erin? What do you mean by that? You told her to cook her own meals. What if she cuts herself with a knife? What if she gets burned? Cooking should be done by those who are used to it. I sighed in exasperation. Ian's serious response. Erin is over 40. Isn't it about time to stop coddling her? Shut up. You're not to shower anymore as punishment. I'm banning the use of hot water. Ever since we started living in the in-laws' house, such exchanges had become a daily occurrence. 3 years later, Charles passed away, followed by Gloria the next year. In her final moments, Gloria gripped my hand and said in a weak voice, "Francis, thank you for everything. And I'm sorry. Please live your life from now on," she said in a strained, weakened voice. The parents-in-law were kind people, and I had persevered for their sake, willing to endure any hardship. With this, I can finally regain the life that truly belongs to me. Finally, I could return to a life that felt like my own, feeling liberated from a long-held burden. It would be pitiful to leave Erin alone, so we'll take care of her for a while. Ian said it as if it were the most natural thing. Hey, isn't it about time to tell Erin to get a job? Sometimes being strict is also a form of love. Ian laughed heartily. She's already working. You'll be surprised to hear this, but Erin has made her debut in video streaming. If she becomes popular, she'll earn a lot in no time. As long as she doesn't lose interest too quickly. I listened with skepticism, deciding to take it with a grain of salt. The thought of enduring Erin's sarcasm and harassment again cast a shadow over my heart. Then, one day, I received a wedding invitation from my niece Doris, whom I hadn't been in contact with for a while. Doris was the daughter of my sister, whom I had adored like my own child since she was little. My sister and her husband were a dual-income couple, often away from home, so I looked after Doris. She and Jake grew up together like real siblings. Of course, I replied that I would attend the wedding but decided to keep it a secret from Ian until the day of the event. If I told him in advance, "You have household duties, right? You shouldn't have time to leave the house for such a relative's event," he would surely find reasons to object. As the wedding approached, I felt as if my own daughter was getting married, pulling out old albums and, "Such a little girl has grown up," I said, feeling a rush of emotions and unwittingly tearing up. Ian looked at me strangely. "What's wrong? Why are you crying?" "It's nothing. I need to start preparing dinner." I put away the album and headed to the kitchen to regain my composure. Then came the day of Doris's wedding. "What? You're attending Doris's wedding?" Seeing me already dressed up, Ian was furious. "Even if she's your niece, she's practically a stranger now. We haven't seen her in years. Why would you go out of your way for someone like that? She's not a stranger. Doris grew up like siblings with Jake." You know that. No way. Today is Erin's birthday. I promised to take her to a fancy restaurant. There's no way I can cancel it now. The wedding will be over by evening, so I might be able to stop by afterwards. No, you need to come shopping with me during the day. As a woman, I need your advice on what to get Erin that she would like. You should choose it yourself. Erin would be happy with anything you give her, wouldn't she? Anyway, I can't. Then Ian said, unbelievable. Ignoring Erin's birthday, huh? Family living together should be the first priority. And with that, he splashed beer he was drinking over my head. This is what you get. A punishment for neglecting your important family. Wiping my face with a towel, I said, we're no longer family. I said with a broad smile. Huh? Thinking he misheard, Ian asked, what did you just say? Ignoring Ian, I said what I said. And left the house in my wet clothes. Lennox, sorry to bother you, but could I use your shower for a bit? Since I couldn't go to the wedding venue in beer-soaked clothes, I decided to stop by my cousin's house on the way. My cousin Lennox was surprised to see me and asked, what happened? But after I explained the situation, Ian is still the same, huh? If anything, he's getting worse with age, he said, offering me sympathy. After taking a shower and feeling refreshed, Lennox's wife, Holly, had prepared a new set of clothes for me. It fits perfectly. That is such a relief. I was to go to the wedding venue in Lennox's car, but as we neared the city court, I said, stop around here. What's up? Is something wrong? I have something to do at the court. It'll be quick, just wait for me. I rushed into the city court, finished my business in less than 5 minutes, and returned to the car. It's best to get minor tasks out of the way early, so you can enjoy the wedding to the fullest. By the way, it looked like you received several messages on your mobile phone. Lennox pointed out, and when I took my mobile phone out of my bag, indeed the notification light was blinking, but seeing the name of the sender, I said, just some promotional ads. There seemed to be some calls too? Those two, just scams. They've been a nuisance lately. The messages and calls were actually from Ian and Erin, but feeling too bothered to engage with them, I decided to completely ignore them. Sometime into the wedding, a well-known comedian, who I'd seen often on TV, made a surprise appearance, brightening and livening up the venue. I had heard the groom was a lawyer and had imagined him to be rather stodgy, but it turned out he had arranged this surprise for Doris, who loved comedians. The comedian's congratulatory message had me laughing so hard that my stomach hurt, tears streaming down my face. It had been a long time since I laughed from the bottom of my heart. Burdened with the care of my in-laws and then being at the beck and call of Ian and Erin, it felt like I had no room to enjoy life in my own right. Erin, I'm deeply grateful for looking after me when I was a child, in place of my dual-income parents. I hope to repay your kindness someday. I will definitely be happy. Doris's reading towards the end of the ceremony was touching, and I felt truly glad to have attended. As I headed to the parking lot to return home, I'll drive you home. Hopefully, Ian has had some time to reflect. Lennox offered kindly, but I laughed it off, saying, that won't be necessary. I'm not going home today. I plan to stay at the Holiday Inn for a while. Besides, that man is no longer family but a stranger, and it's no longer a place for me to return to. My cousin and his wife were surprised by my statement, but after I explained the situation in detail, I see. Well, there's nothing to be done then. In that case, stay with us until you sort things out with Ian. It would be costly to live in a hotel every day. Please do. I also want to learn cooking from you, Francis. With that, my cousin and his wife both welcomed me warmly. The next day, possibly having heard the situation from Lennox, Doris suddenly approached me. I was surprised when I heard from Lennox. But if there's anything I can do to help, just let me know. I can't impose on you. Newlyweds should enjoy their time together. Doris was active as a judicial scrivener, and I didn't want to burden her newly married life with my troubles. I mentioned in my final reading yesterday that I wanted to repay you, Francis. It might be a bit early, but now is the time. Plus, my husband said he'd help as much as he can. If you're considering divorce from Ian, we'll protect you as legal professionals. It's clear he's 100% at fault, and we'll make sure to get as much alimony as possible. I felt a warmth in my heart realizing how the once little Doris had grown into a dependable judicial scrivener. But how can we prove it's entirely his fault when it comes to alimony? Do you have anything? Like a record of daily events? After pondering for a moment, I said, it might not be solid evidence, but I kept a diary during the time I cared for our parents-in-law. I pulled out several notebooks from my bag. They contained detailed entries about my daily efforts caring for Charles, who couldn't move at all, and Gloria, whose mobility was severely limited due to weak legs. It also documented the balanced, low-sodium meals I prepared under a professional's guidance, the walks I took Charles on sunny days, and the baths I helped her with. Moreover, the diary meticulously recorded the daily verbal abuses from Aaron and Ian. As Doris read the diary, I revisited the words I had written. Francis, Dad's calling you. He needs to go to the bathroom. Hurry up and take him. You're so inconsiderate. Ian, I don't know how you put up with such a wife. Making Aaron eat such awful food is horrible. Make something better just for her, you useless thing. That's why we're letting you live here. Aaron and Ian's cruel words echoed in my memory. Indeed, my mobile phone had been flooded with messages and calls since the day before, all from Aaron and Ian. When Doris played the answering machine messages, Aaron is waiting at home, hungry. Hurry back, you good for nothing. Is this because I spilled beer on you? I should be the one charging you for the beer. Francis, I'm saying I'll eat your awful cooking. That's about all you're worth as a person, you know? Know who you are. Unaware that a legal professional was listening, they continued to spout whatever they pleased. Is it always like this? I silently nodded, and Doris smirked. We have enough evidence. You can get a divorce whenever you're ready. You don't have to be controlled by such people, Francis. You have the right to be free. With a mischievous smile, I revealed. Actually, I've already filed for divorce yesterday, just before heading to your wedding. What? No way. How did you? But Ian hasn't agreed, right? Well, about that, I explained how I was able to file the divorce papers. I see. That's how you did it. Doris burst into laughter, understanding the situation. Then, we began to steadily prepare for the final showdown. We've got all the necessary documents. Now we just need to confront them with reality. I'm so grateful you're here. Thank you for everything. A few days later, accompanied by Doris and her husband, I went to the in-laws' house where Aaron and Ian were living. You're demanding alimony? And a division of assets? Come on, what kind of joke is this? Ian and Aaron were furious as they looked through the documents. I'm not joking. Everything is as stated in the document. No matter how much you struggle now, you have no right to refuse. Are you out of your mind? We're not even divorced yet. You can't just jump the gun and demand such things. Let me make this clear. I will never agree to a divorce. Exactly. After all we've done for you, you think you can just run away when it suits you? These documents must be some kind of threat. Ian and Erin seemed completely oblivious to reality. The divorce has already been finalized. I've properly submitted the divorce application. Lies. Do you really think such nonsense will work? I never consented to a divorce, nor did I sign anything. The divorce is invalid. Anticipating Ian's rebuttal, I smirked and said, "Didn't you already fill out the divorce application yourself? When would I have done such a thing?" Wait a minute. Ian seemed to finally remember. When Jake had just started elementary school, Ian and I had a huge argument over Erin. In a fit of emotion, Ian had filled out a divorce application and thrust it at me. Remember now? Yes, that's the divorce application from back then. Impossible! I threw that in the trash. Unfortunately for you, I secretly retrieved the divorce application from the trash after you went out for a walk that day, hoping that one day I could truly divorce you. Honestly, I wanted to divorce you right then and there. But I endured it all, waiting for Jake to become independent. My affection for you had faded long ago. That's invalid. That's not true. The handwriting is unmistakably yours. The divorce is recognized as valid. Doris immediately countered. Are you really going to leave me? Wait a minute. Then who's going to cook for me? Who's going to do the laundry? Who's going to clean the house? Ian and Erin were saying something, but I had nothing more to discuss with them. As I stood up to leave, Doris and her husband also rose. That concludes our business here. Goodbye. We brushed off Ian and Erin's desperate attempts to hold us back and left the in-laws' house. Subsequently, through our lawyers, the court proceedings began. Ian was ordered not to have any contact with Jake or me as a condition for reducing the alimony. Even though Erin was also liable for emotional distress damages, she had no income, and Ian ended up shouldering the responsibility. You should start working for a change. It seemed Ian had finally reached his limit with Erin. Jake, now working in the city, had long been exasperated by Ian's cis complex. It's about time. But I think it's for the best. I endured it all until you were independent. You should be grateful. I endured it all until you were independent. You should be grateful. Jake's monotone thank you made me involuntarily laugh. Jake, working in the city, offered, "Why don't you come and live with me? Wouldn't you be thought of as a mom's boy, hindering you from finding a girlfriend?" I declined. Still, Jake made sure to call me once a week to update me on his life. After settling things with Ian, I started living alone in a small rented house. I made some friends in the neighborhood and started working part-time in a diner. One of them introduced me to leading a modest life. Ian visited my new place once, begging, "Please, Francis. I need you. I'll kick Erin out, so let's start over." But with Doris and her husband's intervention. Have you forgotten your promise not to approach Francis? If you can't keep that promise, we'll have to take legal action again. Ian, faced with the threat, had no choice but to give up and leave. There's also some happy news. Doris and her husband welcomed twin boys. Your mom and dad are working hard, so let's play together until they're free. I started taking care of the twins, stepping in for the busy dual-income couple, Doris and her husband. I'm sorry, Francis. You have your job too. I have some flexibility with my time, so it's fine. Besides, this is my way of showing gratitude for all the help you've given me. I might not be much help, but... Doris shook her head and smiled gently. That's not true at all. Influenced by Doris's smile, the twins also beamed with joy.